Now today I want to tell you why you can use a lower spec computer to edit 4K video. You do not need to have the highest spec out computer to edit 4K videos. All right, so don't get bogged down, about the fact that you do not have the latest MacBook, or you do not have, the latest desktop with the most powerful Ryzen CPU, or the most powerful CPU from Intel. Don't get bogged down with that. Guys, you can edit 4K videos on medium spec laptop, right? So let's talk about it. My name is Owen, and I have been shooting videos for the last let's just say more than a decade now. And when I started developing an interest in video, I quickly realized that I'm going to need a computer for editing, right? And I purchased my first desktop PC. I'm talking about a real one. I purchased a clunker before from a guy. This thing was so old, it was like when computers were just being invented. So that ended up in the recycle in no time. So that was the early 2000s, maybe 2004, 2005. And then I purchased a real desktop computer from Dell. Now, if I tell you the specs on that computer, you would laugh your head off. Just thinking of the memory alone. I'm talking about RAM now. RAM, not storage. 128 megabytes, 128 megabytes of RAM. Right, and that computer cost an arm and a leg at the time. But anyway, it was a good way to get going into into editing. Started editing on that, and back in those days I was editing DV tapes. The digital video cassette, those little tapes. All right, and I quickly soon realized that, this computer, while it's good for what it is, right now, I'm going to outgrow it really quick, right? So I did a bit of research, and being the technically inclined person that I am in terms of gear, I love gear. I start researching on how to build my own system, because people, they're just saying that it's best for you to build your own system. So I scrape up a little bit of cash, and I bought the parts, and I said, what, I'm going to build my own system. And I did the build, and it was a Pentium 4. It was a dual core Pentium 4 at the time, and that one lasted me for a couple of years. All right, but as the years went by, as the technology has kept evolving more. The codecs are getting more intense for your computer. You need more CPU power, more graphic card power, more RAM, more storage, and it goes on and on and on. So over the years, I have built myself quite a few, I would say quite a few, between 2008 to now, I have built myself about 4 computers. The current one that I'm using right now, which I call a mid-level computer, which I just upgraded in just this past December of 2025. It was built on a recommendation from Matt Johnson. He's a wedding filmmaker from Texas. that was built around the Ryzen 7 Ryzen 7 2700X CPU, and I had 16 32 with 32 gigabytes of RAM, right, and a decent graphic card, and I've used that for a couple of years. But I recently upgraded a little bit. I did not do a new build this time because my motherboard could take a better CPU, so that I did. I just upgraded my CPU, and I upgraded my graphic card, buying a used graphic card. But my computer, while it's a Ryzen 7 5800X with an NVIDIA graphic card, it is still considered, a mid-tier computer. It's nothing high-end. So I want to, tell you that, if you are shooting high-end videos and you're not, when I say high-end videos, okay, let me backtrack. If you're shooting 4K videos and you're not color grading and all of that, you're not going to be doing a lot of effects. One of the best way, I'll give you a couple of steps. One of the best way is to at least start out with a good amount of RAM. 16 gigabyte of RAM is good enough. 32 gigabyte is better, right? Another way to make your mid-tier computer much better, rather than using those old clunky spinning hard drives, upgrade to an SSD drive for your operating system. Whether you're using Windows or Mac, for the operating system, use an SSD drive, and even better, get one of those NVMe SSD drives. Those are lightning fast, right? So you don't have to buy a high capacity one. 1 gigabyte is good enough to store all your programs, all your software, and that kind of stuff. All right, so that's one step. So, enough RAM, a good boot drive, and and a decent graphic card that can play back and maybe render 4K a little bit, because some of the editing software, they're very graphic card dependent, while some of them are CPU dependent. In terms of CPU, like I said, you don't have to buy the latest one from AMD or the latest one from Intel. Get a used CPU, or buy one from a previous generation. In my case, I bought one from a previous generation. This motherboard platform, while it is still being supported, it's not even a big thing anymore. I'm using DDR4 RAM. We're up to DDR5 RAM these days. I'm using the AM4 platform from AMD, and so I consider my system a mid-level system, right? But apart from the RAM, my graphic card, and my boot drive, what I have done to allow my computer to run more smoothly and more efficient, I never edit on the same drive where my operating system is on. As a matter of fact, over the last couple of years, I have been shooting multicam videos for the events that I shoot. I've been running three cameras or more each time when I shoot an event, just because I don't use a gimbal, but I want to have good coverage of the event, right? So because I shoot multicam, I come home with 3 or 4 cameras full of with SD cards full of footage. Now, if you put all of, if you place all, if you ingest all of that footage on the same drive and try it, even if it's an SSD, you know, or NVMe drive, it will lag a little bit because you're reading, if you're doing a multicam edit like I do, and you're reading all those files from the same drive, you will run into issues. You will run into a bit of issues. So what I've done, the fact that I shoot multicam, I install three drives for video, 3 drives, an extra drive for graphics and stuff, and another drive, maybe an external drive. I would have that for music. And because I use a desktop system, I have all of those drives, those SSD drives, and their NVMe drives installed inside, right? So essentially what I'm saying, if you have a mid-tier system where you want your editing to be a little bit more efficient, not too laggy, right? Do not edit from your C drive or the drive that has your operating system on it, all right? In my case, I do multicam edits, multicam sequences. So I put camera 1 on this drive, camera 2 on another drive, and the footage from camera 3 on another drive, right? And then when I'm editing, the CPU is gathering the footage from those three separate drives. If I'm adding audio tracks, the audio tracks is also on another drive, right? So the CPU and memory is able to gather all of those assets into the editing software, and my edit goes smoothly without it being laggy, even though my computer is not specced out, right? So you know, I just thought I'd share that with you today, that you don't have to have you know, a MacBook with the M4 chip, right? You understand? You don't have to have the high specced out you know, 24 core from AMD or Intel. You understand? Just be mindful of how you store your footage, how you're reading your footage, how your software is reading the footage on your drives. And with a mid-tier system, you can have a smooth editing experience without, you know, editing 4K videos without scratching your head, so to speak. Now, if you're the person who does a lot of color grading and you add a lot of effects, you know, a lot of composting, a lot of sound mixing, you're using a lot of graphics, you know, you're recording your video footage in RAW, you know, or log or RAW, you know, you're shooting 10-bit 422 all the time, you know, then probably it's best to get a specced out computer, right? But if you don't have the money to go there, that's what I'm saying, to get a specced out system, just follow these steps that I outlined to you. Get your footage on a drive or drives apart from your operating system drive, because, you know, it's not going to be editing from the same drive as your operating system. It makes the CPU does too much work, right? So do that. Separate drives for every camera if you shoot multicam like I do, or even if you don't shoot multicam, even if it's just one camera, put it on put the footage on an external drive or a separate drive, not on the system drive. Just ensure you have at least 32 gigabytes of RAM and a fast boot drive and a decent CPU that that will not struggle. That's all. That's all you need. All you need to get going for your editing. All right. So I just thought I'd share this little tip with you today, guys. Me personally, I have learned to build my system over the years, and I have learned, from my needs. I'm talking about my needs. What works for me may not work for you. I shoot 4K. I shoot 8-bit most of the time. Most of the time I don't color grade. I just do a little bit of color correction if necessary. I'm just learning to shoot in log, to be honest, at age 62. And I'm finding log very, very nice to look at when you put the right lot on it or when you grade it. But for the most part, this is not something that I do full time. I do have a full-time job. I'm still working, looking forward to retirement soon. But in the meantime, I don't have the time to color grade everything that I shoot. I don't have the time to do effects and all those kind of stuff. So I just build a system that suits my needs, that can edit 4K, seamlessly without hiccups, and with no lag, if you know what I mean. All right. If you love this video, give me a thumbs up. If you found it helpful, don't forget to subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and until the next one, you take care of yourself now. Okay? Bye-bye.